Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. In this one, we're going to be breaking down Bucky Brooks' second mock draft of the offseason. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. So with the first pick, Brooks has the Jaguars going with, no surprise here, tackle from Alabama, Evan Neal. I would say right now Neal is probably the favorite to be the first overall pick. I mean, man, he definitely brings a lot to the table, especially for the Jaguars. I mean, this is a team that needs some offensive line help. They need talent there. They've got to protect Trevor Lawrence. You cannot have another David Carr situation, another Andrew Luck situation. He is one of the best quarterback prospects to ever come out of college. You got to keep him up. Right, I mean that's obvious here. Also, and we talked about this in yesterday's mock draft with Mel Kiper. They have Travis Etienne. You know, he was a first-round pick last year. He didn't even play a single game this past season. Okay, so he's going to be coming back. Neal will not only just help Trevor Lawrence, but he's also going to help Travis Etienne in his development. He could play on the left side, the right side. He could play tackle. He could play guard. I would say right now, if the Jaguars don't bring back Cam Robinson, you can take Walker Little and have a competition over at right tackle with Little and Juwan Taylor, and you plug Evan Neal in at left tackle and just go to work. Okay, so I think it makes a lot of sense. Really, the only debate here is offensive line or pass rusher. I don't think Aidan Hutchinson would be a bad selection. I really don't, because the thought of Hutchinson and Josh Allen just attacking quarterbacks from both sides of the D-line would be insane. But Evan Neal is not a bad choice, not in the least. So with the second pick, Brooks has the Lions going with defensive end for Michigan, Aidan Hutchinson. And I think at this point, it's pretty tough to find a mock draft that doesn't have the Lions going with Aidan. I mean, it just makes so much sense. I mean, he fits the system. He fits exactly what Aaron Glenn wants to do defensively. He's a guy who can consistently get after quarterbacks, consistently get in the backfield. You look at the pass rushing unit right now for the Lions. I really like the acquisition of Charles Harris last year. Had a solid season, but he's a pending free agent. Will he be back with Detroit? I'm not so sure. Trey Flowers could be a cap casualty. They need cornerstones. They need talent, and not to mention the whole hometown aspect as well. So Aidan Hutchinson to the Lions makes all the sense in the world. Next up at pick 3, Brooks has the Houston Texans going with defensive end from Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, there's obviously been so much buzz surrounding Thibodeau and his overall fire for the game of football. That's the word that keeps being thrown out. Does he play with enough fire? Do other players play with more fire? It really, and not to mention, teams supposedly want Kayvon to add more mass to his frame. But with those two situations, or those two, it sounds weird saying red flags, but I guess question marks surrounding Thibodeau, it's been a pretty trendy thing over the past couple of weeks to, mock Kayvon going to the Atlanta Falcons at pick 8, down to the New York Giants, even to the Jets at spot number 4, him falling out of the top 3. Brooks is not having it. He is selecting Kayvon for the Houston Texans here. And I definitely feel like it makes sense. You look at where Houston stands right now. This is a team with Lovie Smith now at the helm. You need talented players, right? I don't feel like the Houston Texans right now, although they do have they need a lot of players here. Safety, if they don't bring back a Justin Reed, I really feel like they lack a true number 1 corner. But pass rush is right up there. I mean, where are you going to get a star pass rusher or a potential star pass rusher? Free agency, is Chandler Jones going to come to Houston? I'm not so sure. It's tough. Okay, so Houston's going with Thibodeau. I really like what Grenard put together last season, but it's not enough just having one guy. I think Kayvon truly gives the Houston Texans defense a potential superstar off the edge. Next up at pick 4, Brooks has the Jets going with Ikem Ekwonu, tackle from NC State, and I would say this is a pretty popular selection for the New York Jets. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that could see this happening. I mean, we all know Joe Douglas wants to build this team through the trenches. He's a big offensive lineman guy, and right now there's a lot of holes on this offensive line. You look at the pending free agents, Dan Feeney, Greg Van Roten will probably be released. Cam Clark, interior offensive lineman, had to retire because of a medical concern. Mekhi Becton, the injuries are piling up. There's supposedly size concerns within the organization. Will he come back as the same player? Will he come back and get hurt again? These are unfortunate questions that this Jets front office has to ask here. Morgan Moses is another guy at right tackle, a pending free agent. So we have a lot of question marks right now, early March, okay? maybe we have this thing figured out by the time, late April actually gets here. But as we stand right now, we have a lot of holes, a lot of vacancies. So Ikem Ekwonu makes sense from that standpoint. Absolutely fantastic in the running game. I think he's a day one starter. And, there has been some speculation or some talk among some fans. If you were to draft an Ikem Ekwonu, you take Ikem, you put him at left tackle, and now you take Mekhi Becton and you move him to right tackle. That's an interesting thing to kind of think about. But, man, if Joe Douglas really, really, really wants to build this offensive line up and stack it up to make it a top 3 O-line in football and make Zach Wilson's life as easy as possible, I could definitely see Ikem being the pick. Next up at pick 5, Brooks has the New York Giants going with tackle from Mississippi State, Charles Cross. And I love this pick. I got to be honest with you. I think right now the two biggest needs on the Giants team is offensive line and edge rusher. Okay, Kayvon Thibodeau off the board, Aidan Hutchinson off the board. You can maybe make an argument for Jermaine Johnson, but if you make that argument, you could also sit there and say he's probably going to be there at spot number 7. Is it really worth taking Johnson at 5? Because Charles Cross might get taken by the Carolina Panthers at 6 because they need they need help at tackle. So secure your tackle. Cross can come in and play immediately. He's a beast in pass protection. He has years of production in the SEC. I love this pick for the New York Giants, and it's weird because I feel like over these past couple of mock drafts that we've broke down on the channel, there's been some odd picks for the Giants, like wide receiver, like Drake London and whatnot. Like I'm not really understanding the lack of attention towards the offensive line. And granted, I'm not a Giants fan. I'm not watching the Giants every single week and everything like that. I get it, but at the same time, I really, really feel like the O-line needs to be addressed. And Brooks, Brooks has him going with Cross. I love it. Next up at pick 6, the Carolina Panthers going with Kenny Pickett here, the first quarterback off the board. And I gotta say right now, again, understanding that the combine is this week, so we haven't even seen these guys throw. We still haven't seen the pro days. Free agency is, yet to arrive. Major trades, we still don't know where some of these veteran quarterbacks are going to land. What's happening with Garoppolo, Rodgers, Watson, Wilson. Tons of guys could be on the move here. I think this is a safe pick right now. We're going to have more clarity by the time the draft rolls around, but man, I think right now, if you're the Panthers, what are your two biggest needs? I would say right now it's offensive line, tackle specifically, and quarterback. Charles Cross off the board, Ikem Ekwonu off the board, Evan Neal off the board. Are you really going to draft the 4th best offensive lineman? Now, who knows, maybe Carolina's board is set up differently, but I think right now, Kenny Pickett, I think he would come in. Really the bottom line is this. If you think Kenny Pickett can run the Carolina Panthers offense more effectively than a Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, or PJ Walker, then I think he should be in consideration here. So I definitely would not be surprised if Carolina goes with the quarterback, especially if they fail to land a Watson, a Wilson, or whatever quarterback is in discussion. Now there has been some rumors that Carolina reached out to Minnesota for Kirk Cousins. So I don't really know where that situation stands. It seems like Cousins will be in Minnesota for next season. But anything can happen at this point. But Kenny Pickett overall, I think he would be a solid fit actually in the Ben McAdoo offense. An accurate, good decision maker, tall, big body guy who can also move around. He doesn't have, elite arm strength, but it's definitely good enough. So next up, we're back to the New York Giants here, and Brooks has them going with David Ojabo for Michigan. Now, I think Ojabo would come in and fill an immediate need. I think he would definitely flash his rookie season. My question with Ojabo is, is he a finished product? We all know how high of a ceiling he has, but at the same time, he has a really low floor. Is Ojabo going to be one of these developmental style of players? I think for me personally, I look at the Giants roster. I think they have a lot of talent. Now, granted, there might be a couple cap casualties, but at the same time, I think that the Giants could make a run at the division next season. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities, not in the least. especially with the new head coach, Brian Daboll and that staff coming in. I'm expecting a lot from this Giants organization next season. But, is David going to be a guy to where we're not going to see his best until year 3, year 4? I personally don't feel like the Giants have time to wait around like that. Again, I know they didn't win a lot of games this past season, but I think for me, I would go with a more NFL ready style of player, but at the same time, you could push back and say, hey, you know what? We drafted Charles Cross and with our first pick, we have 2 top 10 picks. What other team, or I don't want to say what other team because there's tons of teams this year, crazy enough, that have multiple first round picks, but it's a rare occurrence that teams actually have 2 top 10 draft selections. Okay, so we're going to get a safe bet with Cross, and now we're going to swing for the fences with David Ojabo. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it does actually make sense. Next up, Atlanta Falcons. He has them going with Ahmad Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati. I love this. AJ Terrell really burst out onto the scene last year. I mean, man, this guy's absolutely tremendous. He's one of the best cornerbacks in football. Now you're taking another guy who never allowed a touchdown pass in his entire college career. You're stacking that up. By the way, cornerback 1 potential, aggressive player. He's not afraid to come up and make a tackle. Just a violent overall player. You're taking a guy of that caliber. You're putting him across the field from AJ Terrell with Dean Pease running the show. If you are a Falcons fan, how could you not be excited for that? I love this pick. A+ for me. Easy A+. Next up at pick 9, Brooks has the Denver Broncos going with Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. This is one of those plug-and-play style of moves. I mean, you take a look at Devin, he's a multifaceted linebacker. He's athletic. He's perfectly built for today's league. I see him being a major contributor year 1. Okay, I mean, you take a look at his production, you take a look at the numbers, they're absolutely mind-blowing back at Utah, specifically last season. Over 100, I think he actually had 111 tackles. He could rush the passer, he could stop the run, he could drop back in coverage, he could do a lot of really, really good things. Man, and what's crazy about Lloyd is probably his number 1 trait is his leadership skills, right? I think it's really important for these rookie head coaches, Nathaniel Hackett here, to draft, to add, to sign locker room leaders, good examples, right? Guys who other teammates will gravitate towards, the guys that will get everybody moving in the same direction, everybody on the right page. Devin Lloyd will not only just contribute on the field, but also off the field. And last but not least, at spot number 10, Brooks has the New York Jets going with wide receiver from Ohio State, Garrett Wilson. I gotta be honest with you, I love this pick, and Garrett Wilson is my number 1 wide receiver in the class. His separation skills, his route running, he has really, really strong hands. His vertical jump is absolutely insane. I think he'd be a beautiful, beautiful scheme fit for what the Jets and Mike LaFleur want to do every single week. I think he'd also be a really good counterpart to an Elijah Moore, to a Corey Davis, a guy who could get open by himself. Now, he is being projected more to the NFL as a slot wide receiver, but I mean, you take a look at how the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan line their wide receivers up. These guys need to do multiple things, right? They're not one-trick ponies. Oh, this guy can only run deep routes. Oh, this guy can only be effective in the red zone. No, all of these guys can do a little bit of everything, and that's kind of what Garrett Wilson brings to the table. I mean, he made plays down the field for Ohio State. He won 50-50 balls, jump balls, which is insane because he's not some towering 6'6" wide receiver like a Drake London or anything like that. He's only 6 foot and he is under 200 pounds. But man, this guy's super athletic, and I would love this pick. So when I'm taking a look at Bucky Brooks's mock draft, honestly, it is one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite out of all of the ones that we've done, over the last, I don't know, month or two. This is probably my favorite. I think these picks not only just make sense for their respective teams, but they're realistic as well. We're not seeing some crazy type of thing to go get clicks or anything like that. I mean, I look at this mock draft and I really have no complaints. I can really see the draft playing out this way. Okay, the only somewhat questionable one is David Ojabo to the Giants, but even then, I mean, I would rate that as an above average selection. Okay, so I love this mock from top to bottom for every team out there. I think it makes a lot of sense. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. How did you like it for the New York Jets? How did you like it for your favorite team out there? And as always, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, and go Jets.